Italian Wine Podcast. Chin Chin with Italian wine people.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast with me, Monty Waldin. My guest today is Pierpaolo Guerra. He is from Tenuta di Capezzana on the commercial side. So just before we start, what's your actual role at Capezzana?
So I am the export manager for Tenuta di Capezzana, and I've been working for Capezzana from the last 2.5 years.
So where are you from, by the way, Pierpaolo?
I was born and raised 30 minutes away from Carmignano. The small village is called Larciano. Is actually in the opposite side of the Monte Albano. It's very close to here.
And did you, when you were small, did you want to work in the wine business? Was your family involved in wine at all?
I actually didn't. My grandfather used to make his own wine because he owned a 1 hectare vineyard in Larciano. He had his own cellar, but I wasn't involved in the wine business until I went to London when I was 19 years old. I actually left Italy to improve my English. And I've heard that the hospitality business was doing very well in London. So that's when I decided to leave and to improve my English by working in the hospitality. So I started working in the restaurant business. And I was very lucky to live with other sommeliers, which got me very involved in the wine tastings. They were studying for their master course of sommeliers to be advanced sommeliers. So that really helped me to get involved in the wine business. So then I decided to study at the WSET. I got the second level, and then I became a sommelier in my last experience in the restaurant business. I was working in My Fair as a head sommelier, and also and that's when I decided to move back to Italy to study enology at the University of Florence. So now I'm starting the 4th year of university, almost finishing my studies. It took me a while because I was working while I was studying, and Capezzana hired me 2.5 years ago. I actually started in the hospitality business, and then after just a few weeks, they sent me straight away to the United States as a brand ambassador, and that's when I started working in the export.
Okay, why is Capezzana, Tenuta di Capezzana, to give its full name, why is it so special in terms of its history in Tuscany?
So Capezzana, it's very special because it's one of the oldest winery in Tuscany. We found a document from 804 AD, which is certifying the production of olive oil and wine at that time. It was the Carlo Magno time. And Capezzana is certainly predisposed to the viticulture and the olive trees groves. At that time, during Carlo Magno, there was a soldier called Martino, which was looking for a place to start to make wine. And he decided to make it here at Capezzana. We found this contract between this farmer and the Church of Seano from 804, and it was a rental contract between the farmer and the church in order to let the property of Capezzana to the farmer in order to make wines and also olive oil.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also the site was an Etruscan site with Etruscan tombs, I believe. So it's got a lot of history to it. So one of the most historic wineries in Italy, I would have thought. So who owns the winery at the moment?
So the winery right now is owned by the Contini Bonacossi family, with the 4th and the 5th generation of the Contini Bonacossi. They bought the estate in 1922 with Alessandro Contini Bonacossi and Vittoria Contini Bonacossi. They made a fortune between the 19th and the 20th century by collecting many pieces of art and dealing those pieces of art with great art collectors from the United States. And they were traveling all around Europe in order to collect those pieces of art. They actually lived in Spain for a while, and they felt in love with the chateaus. They really wanted to buy something similar to a chateau here in Tuscany. And at the beginning of the 20th century, they decided to come back and live in Florence. At the beginning, they used to live in Villa Vittoria, which is now the Congress Palace of Florence. And in the meantime, they were making wine and olive oil here at Capezzana. They actually bought the estate in 1922. And the Contini Bonacossi family is a very important family for Florence, because they gave their entire collection to the Uffizi Gallery. If you go to the Uffizi Gallery now, there are 9 rooms dedicated to the Contini Bonacossi collection. They were art collectors, and they started straight away to collect every single bottle of wine they make. And we're very fortunate and very lucky to have bottles from 1925 all the back in our wine cellar.
They're also very good at taking cuttings from vineyards outside of Italy, notably from Chateau Lafite in Bordeaux. Tell us a little bit about why that was so important.
That was very important because the Contini Bonacossi, especially Ugo Contini Bonacossi, was a close friend to Eric de Rothschild, which owns 2 Grand Cru in France, Chateau Lafite and Chateau Lafite Rothschild. And because of their relationship, he was able to take some cuts of Cabernet Sauvignon from Chateau Lafite, from Bordeaux, and plant them here at Capezzana. You have to know, Monty, that here at Capezzana we have a very similar terroir to Bordeaux, because we are very close to the Apennine Tuscan-Emilian mountains, and we are located in a slope to the Montalbano. We are actually northwest of Florence. It's just 40 minutes away from the city. And also the soil is very similar to Bordeaux because it was originated by seashore crocks. So we have a very diversified type of soil. We call it a chaotic kind of soil because we have in some vineyard we have limestone, in some other we have clay, in some other albarese and galestro rocks. It's very diversified, and because of the distance within the mountains, we have this beautiful cool breeze, which makes our wines very elegant but also long-lived.
Do you have a particular preference when you're tasting the wines in the cellar at harvest, where all the lots are kept separately? Do you have a preference for the kind of silkiness of the schist, or the directness of the limestone, or the frankness of the clay?
Monty, to be honest, I love this mixture because is a mixture that allows to have very complex wines. We had a tasting in October with some journalists, and we were tasting 12 different vintages from 1930 to the latest vintage, 2017 Villa di Capezzana. And we found even the 1930 alive. It was unbelievable how this wine can age very, very well. The Medici family, during the Renaissance, they knew that Carmignano was the perfect place to grow many different kind of grape varieties. Caterina de' Medici, which was married to the King of France, she actually brought Cabernet, Alicante, and some other international varieties here to Capezzana because they knew that this terroir could easily help those kind of grapes to grow. And at that time, they wanted to make a wine with more structure, with a higher amount of polyphenols that could travel very well. So they started to try many different kind of blends. And at the end, they found Sangiovese and Cabernet the perfect blend to have a wine that could travel and also that could age very, very well. So the Medici actually made the first Super Tuscan 400 years ago. It's weird because sometimes when I talk to people about the Super Tuscan history, which was from the 60s, the Medici found the perfect blend for Tuscan wines, for elegant Tuscan wines already during the Renaissance period.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it is one of those unique aspects of where you're coming from about this idea of Tuscany Bordeaux or international blends. And, you're right that people think it's a modern phenomenon, but it really isn't. It's a very traditional or historic phenomenon, particularly in this part of Italy. And also, it's interesting to have those Bordeaux varieties at slightly higher elevation compared to where they normally are in Bordeaux, for example. Okay, so the estate is also certified organic. Why was that change made, and is everybody happy being organic?
We're actually very happy to be organic. It's our philosophy to have healthy soils for the future generations, but also for the people which are working for Capezzana. Vittorio Contini Bonacossi used to be part of the fourth generation. He actually passed away 2.5 years ago. He was very passionate about the organic agriculture, even when it wasn't fashionable, He really believed in the organic, and he started straight away with some agriculture practices, such as the green manure, for example, which is based on planting leguminous such as fava beans in order to naturally add the atmospheric nitrogen to the soil. We avoid the chemistry in the vineyards. We are trying our best to fight any funginous illness very naturally. And also this organic philosophy is brought in the vinification process. We use a very low amount of added sulfites. And we also do spontaneous fermentation with our own indigenous yeasts. Since 2013, the University of Florence comes every year to study every single strain of Saccharomyces cerevisiae in our wine cellar. As you know, the Saccharomyces cerevisiae brings its own unique aroma during the fermentation process. And since 2013, we could reach 59 different strains of Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So that's very important to have a very unique wine. Our wines, I believe, they're very unique, and they're talking about the terroir that we have. We don't like to use the overuse of the oak, for example. Even during the maturation of the wine, we use a very low amount of new oak. It's just 10% of new oak. And we love to use, for example, tonneau, which is a little bit bigger than a barrique. It's 350, 500 liters of container.
So you're lucky where you are as well in terms of the altitude and the cool conditions you've got. So you get a decent acidity in the wine, which helps aging, as you mentioned already, but also does make winemaking a little bit more easy, to be a little bit more hands off.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the wines, because you make a tremendous amount of wines. So if you just go through, I don't know, start off with whatever you want, but some of the key red wines that the estate makes.
So I would start from Barco Reale. Barco Reale di Carmignano is a very representative wine for Capezzana. We were actually the first to make Barco Reale in 1984, and Barco Reale di Carmignano became a DOC in 1994. So if you want to compare our denomination to Montalcino, Barco Reale, it's something similar to a Rosso di Montalcino. So it's the younger version of Carmignano. It is made with the younger vineyards, but it's a beautiful approach to our land. It is made with the traditional Carmignano blend, so mostly Sangiovese and a little bit of Cabernet. As I said before, Cabernet, it's almost a local varieties for Carmignano because what was brought during the Renaissance. So by the law, Carmignano is the only denomination in Tuscany where a minimum of Cabernet is required in order to make the DOC or the DOCG blend, from a minimum of 10% to a maximum of 20%, and added to the Sangiovese. And Barco Reale was actually a wall that was built by the Medici family that was surrounding the commune of Carmignano, Poggiacaiano, and Quarrata, that the Medici built to distinguish themselves to the rest of the Granduchy. They loved to come here during their leisure time because the wines were already very good, and also they were using this area for hunting. they started to build many Medicean villas in this area, because if you go to Chianti or Siena, you see plenty of castles, because those areas were areas for battling during the war. Those hills here in Carmignano were the secure hills for and the countryside for the Medici family. So that's when they started to make and to build beautiful Medicean villas, such as the one that we have in Artimino, for example, which is a UNESCO patrimony.
Okay, tell us about the Riserva.
So we have the Carmignano. Actually, the flagship wine is our Villa di Capezzana, which was the first label designed by Alessandro Contini Bonacossi. The blend always been the same, mostly Sangiovese with a little bit of Cabernet. Nowadays, we make it with 80% Sangiovese and 20% Cabernet, and is our flagship wine because the label was designed by Alessandro Contini Bonacossi, and it's very recognizable as a label. It's white with this beautiful font that was actually designed by Alessandro Contini Bonacossi, and that's the wine that we are very fortunate to have vintages all the back from 1925. Since 2006, we decided to hold back 3,000 up to 4,000 bottles every year of this wine to put them back onto the market 10 years later for this 10-year project. So the year that we release the Villa di Capezzana, we also release a 10 years older Villa di Capezzana, just to show to the market the potential of aging of our Carmignano.
Yeah, so it's like a reserve, isn't it? A reserve, not a reserva, but a reserve.
It's a library release.
Yeah, and so it's looked after by the estate in perfect conditions, and it's aged. So when you put it on the market, it's ready to drink. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we do this service for the market.
So, I mean, for the Villa di Capezzana, either the Normale or the Riserva, what is a good food match? What is your favorite food match?
Of course, Florentine steak. we recommend it very rare, al sangue. But any kind of meat would be good with our Villa di Capezzana, honestly. I had it with deer, for example, but any kind of meat would be very good. Another Carmignano that we make is our Trefiano, and Trefiano is a Riserva. Trefiano is actually a villa which is located a few kilometers away from the estates. Is another property of Capezzana, and Vittorio Contini Bonacossi used to live in Trefiano for more than 30 years, and in 1979 he decided to vinify the 3 single crew vineyards nearby the villa. And at that time, he decided to make a Carmignano Riserva. So this wine is a truly beautiful Tuscan wine. It's more a Brunello style of wine. It has 80% of Sangiovese and 10% of Cabernet and 10% of Canaiolo. Our Canaiolo is a Massale selection that we have been doing for 4 generations. It's a beautiful Canaiolo with small grapes. It's not like the big Canaiolos that we see around in Tuscany. And I think it's a beautiful wine, very austere. It needs a little bit of time to be understood, but it's actually one of my favorite that we make in.
You know, obviously, Villa di Trefiano, and you said there were 3 single vineyards. Is that why it's called Trefiano or not? Was that just coincidence?
No, I think the name of the villa comes from the Rucellai family, and the Rucellai family were the one that built Trefiano along with the Medici family. At the time of Leopoldo de' Medici, the Rucellai became the Medici accountants, and they wanted to have this beautiful villa that has a microclimate into a microclimate, because it's the last hill before Florence, and it gets the sunshine first day in the morning, and the sun goes away very late during the day. So we have an even higher amount of polyphenols and the beautiful maturation of the grapes. So that's when we decided to make our own Riserva from Trefiano.
Okay, tell us about Ghiaie delle Furba. What's that?
Ghiaie della Furba. It's very difficult to be pronounced, especially in English. Maybe Ghiaia was much easier. And the name Ghiaie della Furba means pebbling soil, rocky soil. There is a a book written by Francesco Redi. There was a physician and biologist at the time of the Medici, which is called Bacco in Toscana. And he used to say that Carmignano wines were the favorite wines of the Medici, of the Granduchy, and they were coming from a rocky soil because we have this good presence of skeleton in our soil. And so Ghiaie means pebbles, and Furba is a small stream that flows nearby the first vineyard of Ghiaie della Furba. So that's why the name Ghiaie della Furba. It's like a wine that comes from pebbling soil nearby the river Furba. So it's a long story. And the wine was born in 1979, at the same time that Trefiano was born. But it was actually the first wine in Tuscany to be vinified in barrique with a Bordelaise blend. So at the time in 1979, it was 1/3 of Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot, like the traditional Bordelaise blend. And then since 1998, when Benedetta Contini Bonacossi took over the position of winemaker, she decided to change the Cabernet Franc with the Syrah, which gives a little bit more of spiciness to the wine, which is a little bit more round. And I believe it's a great blend. And now those wines are called Super Tuscans. But Ghiaie della Furba has its own brand and history. It doesn't need to be defined Super Tuscan.
La Monanera?
Monanera Bonaccorsi was first owner of Capezzana in late 15th century. She was the one that built Villa di Capezzana, which is the core of our winery. I would really recommend to come and visit us because this part of Tuscany is actually not very well known because we are such a small denomination. We account just for 13 producers. We are the smallest DOCG in Tuscany. But it has so much history, which is difficult to be, tell in just 20 minutes. We have an hospitality center with a beautiful bed and breakfast and also a wine bar. And we do wine tours. We also have a beautiful cooking school for our customers. So I would recommend to come to visit Capezzana when will be possible. Hopefully soon that we think if the vaccine start to go well. We believe that this summer we can already host you at Capezzana.
Okay, you got two more wines to talk about, which two very interesting wines, which are your Vinicenti, your Vinsanto di Carmignano and the Riserva, which are fantastic wines. Can you just tell us a little bit about those two, please?
So Vinsanto, it's a wine that goes against any enology law because it's a very traditional wine made in Tuscany. At Capezzana, we've been doing Vinsanto for a very long time, from centuries. And Benedetta learned how to make this wine from the one that was before her, and it's very traditional. It's a wine that is made with the best selection of our Trebbiano grapes. Trebbiano is another grape that we do a Massale selection from 4 generations. Our Trebbiano, we call it a pink Trebbiano, Trebbiano Rosa. It's a Trebbiano with grappolo spargolo. That means that the grapes are well divided one to each other. And we do a selection of those grapes in September when the grapes is a little bit underripe because we need lots of acidity to contrast and to balance the sweetness at the end of the process. Because our Vinsanto is a sweet wine, of course, and it has more than 290 grams of residual sugar per liter. So if you don't have enough acidity to balance, the wine would be very sickening to be drink. So we do this selection early in September, and we put those grapes in small boxes, in small wood boxes. We bring the grapes in the appassimento room in the Vinsantaia, where the grapes stays to fully dehydrate for up to 5 months. It's very important that the room hasn't any humidity. The grapes, they have to be absolutely perfect until they are vinified. After those 4 months, they are vinified and they are taken to a room which is called Vinsantaia, where are the caratelli. Caratelli are very small chestnut or cherry casks, where the wine stays for up to 7 years. By the law, to make the Vinsanto di Carmignano Riserva, you should store the wine for 3 years. At Capezzana, we keep it for at least 6 years. It's a wine that makes us proud every single vintage, even though it's it's very hard work to get to the wine, because it takes at least 7 years or 8 years to be ready to be drunk and to be enjoyed by the market. But it's a wine that makes us very, very proud every single vintage. Not last in 2019 with the Riserva 2011 at the International Wine Challenge. We won the best sweet wine from all over the world. And that was an amazing achievement for this wine, because we were competing with much more famous sweet wine like Sauterne or Porto wines. So it was a very great achievement for Capezzana.
Yeah, what's nice about it is you've got that bit of altitude and coolness to give the backbone. So the sweetness is, it's obviously sweet, but it's refreshing rather than cloying. And I think that's one of the great advantages. And also just the way that it's made, even the time in oak. It's a very, very complex wine. The most underestimated wine style in Tuscany, the Vini Santi for sure. And hopefully people will switch back onto them because they are wonderful, unique wines. Pierpaolo, I want to say thank you to you. You've spoken very eloquently about Tenuta di Capezzana, a beautiful estate, very, very historic. A lot going on there, huge improvements made over the last 10, 15 years. And we wish you and your team and everybody there every success in the future. And I will come and visit, okay?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Please come and visit us, Monty, anytime you like. It will be a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, your explanations and descriptions have been very concise and very, very elegant. Well done, you.
Thank you, Monty.
No worries, take care.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.